G'day, it's Robbie again. These days I know a lot of machinists like using live centres, and live centres are a good thing, very handy. But the trouble with live centres is they're bulky, and you can't always get in close to the end of the job. The tool post can't get in because the centre's in the way. And for that reason I often use dead centres, and I've got quite a collection of them. These are high-speed steel, this is carbon steel, this is tungsten tip, tool steel one that I made up myself, bronzed it up. Good, all good stuff. But eventually, apart from the tungsten one, eventually all of them will get the tips marked, particularly if you're doing any high-speed turning. They will burn the tips eventually or wear them. So you have to reshape the tips, and really the only way to do it is to grind them. And if you've got a tool post grinder, that's all well and good. I've got a tool post full-size wall down tool post grinder, and these are all being ground on it and ground using it, so not a problem. But what if you haven't got a tool post grinder and you want to do the job, do a nice job, you know, and you're working on hard metals like this? Well, I'll show you how. As most of you know that watch my videos, I'm a big fan of these cheap little air die grinders, these pencil die grinders you can get off the internet for about 30 bucks delivered. They're a fantastically useful thing that can do all sorts of jobs that would otherwise be very difficult. I mean, I know some people think they're pretty crappy because the run out in them's not fantastic, but still, for 30 bucks, you can still do things that otherwise would be impossible. And I mean, even though there might be a bit of TIR in the stones and the collet, the same as on a Dremel, when this thing's spinning at 30,000 RPM, it's going to make bugger all difference. If you're grinding, you can still always dress the stone to take out any TIR, because the TIR is constant. It's not varying. Once you lock it up, the TIR won't change, and you just dress your stone and you're good to go. But in practice, you don't even have to dress these little stones because they're spinning that hard. It doesn't make any difference. So there you go. This is what we're going to use in the tool post. I've got it mounted in the little holder that I made up that you can see in some of my other videos how to make it. It's a simple thing. It just goes in the 4-way. And we're going to just use this to grind the 60-degree taper back on the dead centre. And after that, we might even freshen up a few drills, because these can also be used to grind do the initial grind on the end of your drills to get the right angle, consistent angle, and then after you've got that done, you can then hand finish, put the taper on relative to that cutting cone that you put on the end of it. So it's a great way to freshen up your drills as well. And yeah, if you haven't got a proper TPG, tool post grinder, like I have, well, these are the next best thing, and they're certainly better than nothing. For 30 bucks, I think they're a great investment, but everybody's got their own opinion on these things, and so I'll set it up and I'll grind the taper back onto a high-speed steel dead centre that I've got that has been marked through use. So where are we at? Well, I've got the tool post grinder, the little air grinder, in the tool post, mounted in that little bracket I made up. High-speed steel dead centre is in a collet, but you could use a chuck if I did. The TIR is good, you know, or a 4-jaw, you could dial it in on that and get it accurate. We've got our compound set to 30 degrees, and all we're going to do is start up the lathe, and then we're going to just bring in the cutting disc against it so it touches it, and then just lock the carriage and just wind it backwards and forwards a few times, and then bring it back, advance the carriage slightly, lock it again, and then come in and do another one. I like to use a disc rather than a full-length stone, because the problem with a full-length stone is that they can wear unevenly doing this sort of work. If you come against it and you put too much pressure on, you can actually dig into the surface of the stone. Using a disc, you can get a much more uniform effect. You can track it up and down quite nicely. So, my opinion, my advice is use a little disc and a little friction disc, and you're good to go. Okay, I'll come in closer and I'll show you how it goes. So how did our job turn out? Well, it turned out pretty damn good. Certainly as good as you could hope to do using a simple little grinder like this, but it's nice and uniform, and this is good as coming out the packet basically. On this you can see there's a little ring around here, and it had me fooled. I went over it a couple of times to try and sort of get rid of it, but it must be that this has got a harder material in the centre of it. This is a industrial grade dead centre out of a factory. So these aren't just high-speed steel, it must be two grades, it must be a harder core in there. But anyway, it certainly came up nice and usable, and I'm happy with that. It's back in action, whereas before it had grooves in it. So now I'll do a drill on it, and we'll just clean up the end of a drill and show you how it works on that. I mean, when you do this, you can cover your lathe up if you want to. I'll just give this a good wipe down after, and yep, okay, we'll move on. Okay, so we've got a drill in the collet. I've set the top slide for the angle that I want the cutting flutes to be, and now it's just a matter of dress the end of the drill with the little grinder, and then afterwards we'll take it out and we'll just hand grind the relief using the angles, the uniformity that we've put back onto the drill. So here's the finished product. You can see it's ground the end beautifully at the angle I've set it at, and now all I'll have to do is just grind the relief so that it cuts properly. I mean, you can't use it like that because it won't cut properly. Quite often you buy drills and they've got stuff or relief, but yeah, you've got to put some back relief on them, and then it will work good. But at least now you've got a good starting point. Yeah, both of those angles are uniform, and as long as you don't grind away too much back relief, this drill will come up like absolute brand spanking new. So there you go. The little grinders, they are good within their limitations, but they can certainly do things you wouldn't be able to do any other way. I mean, in this situation, unless you've got a tool post grinder or a specialised piece of equipment, you're buggered. Whereas these little things will do it, and they'll do it plenty good enough to do the job. Okay, that's it, folks. See you next time. Cheers.